Now, let's talk about post-graduation work authorization, right? Now, once you come to the US, you come through your master's program, you've done it, you're a serious student. What I always see with most people is they want to stay here. And this is actually what I did. I graduated and I was looking for opportunities to live and work here in the US. Okay, there's nothing wrong about that. In fact, actually, a student visa has a clear path to citizenship. Okay, what does that mean? That means, in fact, actually, the US government, they are very smart. Okay, look at the US government as like, for example, like a company that want to attract the best brains out there, right? That's how the US government works, right? You see, most of the people actually who do a lot of innovations here in the US, a lot of those people came to the US as international students. Look at the CEO of Google. Look at Elon Musk, Tesla. Guy, right? These are people who came to the US as international students. Okay, people like me also, we came as international students. We are here, we run businesses. So the US government, as much as they want to allow people to come here and study, they want the best brains. Okay, they want serious students. They want someone who is actually coming here to study. Okay, and that person must be smart. Okay, and also they don't just want you to come here and then maybe just spend your money here and then maybe don't get any opportunities. So they have ways of enabling you now to transition from being a student to a skilled worker. Okay, that's the beauty about it. Okay, and that's really what I did. So me, I came as an international student. Then I graduated. I graduated in 2011. And then I got a job as a systems analyst, okay, working, implementing ERP. I talked about that earlier. And, after that now, after I got the job, that company sponsored me to live and work here long term. Okay, so there's that part. So once I got sponsored, I was able to get H-1B visa. Then after that, after a few years, I was sponsored again for employment-based green card. Then after that, if I wanted to, I'm still a permanent resident, I'm not a US citizen yet, but if I want to become a US citizen in a few years' time, then I can become a US citizen. So there's a clear path to citizenship. Okay, so the US government want those smart ones who want to really work here, they can be able to do so. Okay, through that path, through the student visa. You come, you graduate, you get a job, you get sponsored, and then once you get sponsored, then after that, you can become a citizen if you want to. Okay, so they want to attract the best. Okay, now, so post-graduation work authorization, it's given, first now, once you graduate from school, you are given something called optional practical training. This is basically a work authorization that allows you to look for work that is related to what you went to school for. Now, let's say, for example, you come here, you do your Master of Science in Business Analytics as a master's program. Then, if you get a job in the IT industry, let's say, for example, as a business analyst, you can use your optional practical training work authorization to be able to get that work. Okay, so once you graduate, before you graduate, you normally apply for that optional practical training. It costs money to apply for it. I don't remember how much it is now. I think maybe 400 something. I'm not very sure. But it costs you some money to apply for it. So you get it once you graduate. And then now you use that to look for work that is related to what you went to school for. Now, let's say, for example, you graduate with a Master of Science in Business Analytics. You can't go out there, you can't get your OPT and start working at McDonald's, flipping burgers and cleaning, cooking pizza. No. If you do that, you're going to be violating your immigration status as an international student. That's not good. Okay, so you need to be smart about these things. Okay. Now, me, I struggled a lot when I graduated. In fact, actually, I had to extend school by 1 semester because I really could not find a job. Reason being, because back in Kenya, I used to be a teller. Okay, I had worked at one of the big banks in Kenya as a teller for about 6 months before I got my visa to come here. But you see now, when I came here and I was looking for work after I graduated from school, I only had like academic skills. What I had was basically my undergraduate, right? The other one being a teller, here in the US, Taylor can be anybody, like Taylor is just someone who has just finished their, their their high school, right? So I was looking for jobs like as a teller, as a staff accountant, those kind of jobs, as a, as a data entry clerk, those kind of jobs. But you see now, those are jobs like that a lot of Americans are looking for. Okay, so if you come here now and you don't have the right skills, it's going to be very hard for you to get sponsored by companies here in the US. Now, one thing that you need to understand is that for a company to sponsor you, for you to actually live and work here long term, you need to have skills that Americans don't have. Okay, and that's why I see a lot of people out there who come to the US as international students struggle so much. Okay, so many people, they came as international students and they were not able to transition into corporate America. Why? Because at that point when they graduated from school with their whatever masters or whatever, they didn't have the skills that Americans don't have. So if you come here, you are a tailor like me, for example, you only have a Bachelor of Commerce degree from Kenya, and you are looking for jobs that can sponsor you, you will find it very, very hard for you to get a sponsor, very, very hard. Okay, so what I always encourage people, like you need to pivot a little bit. You need to look for those skills that can be able to get you those sponsorship jobs. Okay, and I think maybe this is something that we can have another session on, because it's quite a very heavy topic to talk about right now, because I don't think I have enough time, honestly. So, but anyways, you need to have those skills. There's a way that you can be able to get those skills. In fact, actually, we also focus as a company, we do those training programs where you train people on job skills, especially if they marry with your academic skills. Especially for us, we focus on IT and business. So, so there's that you can do. I think we're gonna talk about that maybe in another session. Now, anyway, so you're gonna get OPT. OPT is optional practical training. It's for 1 year. Now, if you are a STEM student, STEM basically means science, technology, engineering, mathematics. If you did any of those kind of master's program, you're gonna get a further 2 years of OPT. Okay, another 2 years. So potentially you can actually get up to 3 years of OPT. Okay, and this is post-graduation work authorization. Now, like I said, you use this now, this period, to actually now look for companies that can sponsor you long term. Because remember, OPT is just for 1 year. If you come for an MBA like the way I did, you're gonna get 1 year work authorization. If you come doing a STEM program, you're gonna get up to 3 years. So within, let's say, for example, you came for an MBA, within that 1 year, you must find an employer who will be able to sponsor you long term. Otherwise, once you are done with your OPT, then you have to go back to your country. Okay, if you don't go back to your country, if you stay here, then you're gonna stay here long, illegally. You're gonna go up, you have to go under. Otherwise, also, what other students do is they go back to school to maintain their student immigration status. In fact, actually, there's so many people here in the US, mostly from Africa, from third world countries, who came here, they are not able to transition. I'm telling you, this is usually the hardest part. It's hard if you don't have the information, but it's very easy if you have the information. Okay, it's very easy if you have the information. So most students, they come here, they are not able to transition, they can't get, employers willing to sponsor them. And now they're on OPT, they can't get anything. What they do, then they don't want to fall out of status, then they have to go back to school to maintain their status. And you can imagine going back to school again, you have to pay all those thousands and thousands of dollars. We have students here who are career students. Basically, they've been here for years and years and years. A lot of people here, they do even up to 3 PhDs. And it's not because they love being in school, it's because they just want to keep on being here. They don't want to go back to their countries, and they don't want to be illegal immigrants. They don't want to be without the right documents. So they just stay in school. Somehow they find some work outside school, which is, not allowed, but they keep staying in school. So you don't want that to happen to you. So that's why this information is very, very important. Okay. So anyways, so you have that time within your OPT for you to be able to get these employers who can be able to sponsor you, and for you now to live and work here long term. All right. Now, before even once now you graduate and once you get that OPT, in fact, actually, you must find an employer, you must find something within the next 60 days, which is a big challenge. Okay, so also that's why it's very, very important that you really need to, you need to prepare very well. You need to have all the information before you graduate. You know exactly what's going to happen. I always advise our people, if you're out there and you really want to succeed in the US, you have to know all the whole process until how you graduate and how you get a job. Don't just come here blindly, because actually most of our people struggle here because they come to the US blindly. They have no idea how they're going to transition once they graduate from school. Okay, they are just happy they got a visa, and that's how I was. Me, I was just happy that I was given a visa after struggling for so many years to get a student visa. Okay, but I had not, if you ask me what I wanted to do after I graduated from school, and I've told you I want to stay in America. But how do you stay in America? How do you work in America? How do you work good jobs? I mean, if you want just to graduate and then work in these odd jobs, cleaning people's houses, cutting people's grass, working in McDonald's, there's those jobs. You can work those jobs. If that's what you want, then you can get those jobs. But if you're a really smart international student, you don't want to be doing those kind of jobs, because there's really, really good jobs in corporate America where you get paid really good money. You can, within a few years, you are making 6-figure salary. Okay, those are the type of jobs that you want to do, having spent so much money here in the US as a smart international student. Okay, and you can be able to do that if you know what you need to do from the beginning. Okay, and that's why you have these webinars, these series, for you to really know the information that you need for you to succeed here in the US, not just going to school. Also, once you graduate from school, how do you transition to that corporate job? It's not easy, but it's very easy if you have the information. Okay, all right. So anyways, we've talked about regular OPT, STEM OPT. It's a further 2 years. Okay, so if you have, I always encourage people, if you are smart out there and you're smart, if you're out there and you're smart, please take a STEM program. Okay, take a STEM program. A STEM program will give you 3 years of post-graduation work authorization. That gives you enough time for you to figure things out. 1 year is not enough. I'm telling you. Remember, I told you I had to extend school by 1 semester because I couldn't find a job easily. And I didn't want to fall out of status because I didn't have a job. I was trying to look for work. I couldn't find anything until anyways, I was able to figure out how to get into the tech industry. I was trained as an Oracle consultant. I think that's a story for another day. I can spend time explaining to you exactly how I transitioned. Okay, but if you're a smart student out there, do a STEM program. It will give you up to 3 years of work authorization. And within those 3 years, you have time to figure things out. Okay, you see also, when you come here in the US, maybe you are coming here when you are, because I came here when I was 26, right? Most master's students, maybe they're in their mid 20s. You also want to get married. Who knows? You can even find an American, right? And you get married to one, and then you get your immigration papers. You don't even need someone to sponsor you. But also, that 3 years also gives you all that time to figure things out in terms of your papers, if you really want to live and work here in the US. That's very, very important. Okay. All right. Now, also, let's say, for example, your OPT expires. Also, you'll have another 60 days grace period for you to leave the country. Okay. All right. You're watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by Upstack America. Upstack America is a consulting company that helps immigrants find amazing higher education and job opportunities in the tech industry in the United States. You can find our programs by going to www.upstackamerica.com. Upstack America, we wake you up to the unlimited potential within you. So what you're gonna do is I'm gonna open this session now for Q&A. Well, I'll try to read some of the questions here and see whether I can be able to answer all of them. Now, there is someone by the name Morris. He says that he's been in contact with Bob before. I did send my school credentials, which he approved, and gave a green light to apply to join Upstack. So yes, I'm qualified. I want to do a master's in data science. However, I need to know the loan repayment procedures. Well, now, I don't know. I don't want to dwell too much on our programs here because that's really not what brought us here. But through the Kenya Airlift program, we have the handbook that specifically says the interest rate that is offered through the program, through our circle. You can check that out. I think it's 1% per month. And you repay once you graduate from school, and that loan is for relocation expenses. In terms of loans from the lenders, let's say, for example, if you take Prodigy loan, you can always go to Prodigy website and check their loan repayment interest rate. It's usually between around 9% and above. And same thing with the Empower. Also, you can be able to know the interest rate for that. Now, repayment period, I think it's 10 years, I believe. I'm not very sure. I think 10 or 12. It all depends. Anyways, just go to the website again, Prodigy or Empower Financing, and you'll be able to see all that information. Securities, again, these loans, they are unsecured international student loans. So basically the security is you. You must be smart. That's why I said it's not just for anybody out there. You have to have a very good GMAT score or GRE score. You have to show you're a smart person. And if you're coming to do a very marketable program, let's say, for example, you're saying you're coming to do data science, that's the security for you. You're coming to a very good program. So they know that you have a very high chance of getting a job. Those are the kind of students that they want to lend to. They don't just lend to just anybody out there. So there's no other security that is needed. There's someone here who is anonymous, says that, could you talk a little bit about bachelor's, master's programs, for example, that in Colombia, where you can do an additional year taking a master's level and get a master's degree? Yes, I know there's those options where you have like dual programs, where you can do your bachelor's and at the same time also you can start doing your master's studies. What you need to do is just get in touch with the universities that offer those programs that you're interested in, that are dual programs, and you should be able to get to know more about that information. Okay. All right, but yes, it's possible. Some schools, I don't think it's every school out there that offers those kind of options, but I know there's that, where you can be able to do your bachelor's and at the same time also you undertake your master's. Okay, so those are the two questions that I can see. There's another one here from Ian. He says, for prospective STEM MBA students without previous STEM careers, is career change possible? Yes, well, most MBAs out there, they are not really STEM, but there are some schools out there, they classify them as STEM. So you just need to ask whether your program is a STEM program. Also depends with which concentration you are taking, because MBA is very generic, right? So you can take an MBA, for example, in data analytics. If the school has classified that as a STEM program, then that's good for you, right? You can also take an MBA program in, let's say, for example, information technology as a concentration. That could be a STEM program, right? But generally, MBA, just a generic MBA, that won't be a STEM program. It will just be a regular master's program. And that will only get you just 1 year of post-graduation work authorization, OPT, that we talked about. Okay. Now, I believe the students want to know whether you can do a career change. Yes, like for example, you see, I always give my own example, right? I came to the US as a master's student, as an MBA student. Me, I didn't have any IT undergraduate. I didn't have any IT background. No. Okay. But what I did was, because I realized, remember I told you guys, I was finding it a little bit hard, not a little bit actually, very hard to get jobs. So I had to extend school by 1 semester. So what I did was I got trained in the IT, on IT job skills as an Oracle systems analyst. Okay. And that's how I was able to now to get a job, because I was trained on job skills. There's a lot of companies out there. We do such training programs. That's what Wilfred talked about. You know, we have training programs on robotics. For example, you can train as a robotics business analyst. You can train as a robotics developer. You can train as a data scientist on artificial intelligence and machine learning. You can also train as an Oracle systems analyst. These training programs, even though they are IT programs, even though the IT skills that you are being trained on, you can actually do them if you come from a background that is not necessarily IT. And that's really what I did. right? Let's say, for example, if you come for an MBA, I did an MBA and I was able to train on IT job skills and I was able to get a job because IT and business is quite related. You understand? And by the way, I see a lot of people out there getting scared of IT, thinking that, if you don't have any IT background, then it's not easy for you to get to transition. No, because there's me when I used to work as an IT consultant, I never used to do any coding. I can't write even one single line of code. Okay, right? Because I used to implement from the front end. There's a lot of jobs out there. In fact, actually, so many of them where you work from the front end. Okay, so you don't need to have any tech background for you to get into the tech space. Okay, all right. So you just need to know exactly what you want to study, what you would also want to do as a career, what are the training programs out there for you that can enable you now, get those skills that are needed in the job market. And we said we can talk about this in another session because I think time is up for us. So let me take another question. In this era of working remotely, is it possible to find a company to sponsor me for H1B working remotely from Kenya? No, it's not possible. You have to be physically here. Let's say, for example, you get sponsorship to work on H1B visa through Upstack America. The government, the US government, requires us to bring you here in Tampa, not even anywhere in the US. You have to be physical. You can work remotely, but you have to be physically located in Tampa. You don't have to go to the office for Upstack, but you can be in your house, but in Tampa, because also they do checks. Okay, they do random checks sometimes to check whether, because some of these programs, for example, H1Bs, they can, they are very vulnerable to abuse, right? Companies can abuse them and file for people who are, non-existent, right? So they don't want to do that. So you have to be physically here, even though you're working remotely, even though you're not going physically to the office. So I've answered your question, hopefully. Does Upstack support admission support to universities, not on your list? Well, we normally work with the schools that are in our list. We keep on expanding the list. And the reason is because these are schools that we work with, some of the schools that we have official partnership with. We know that, for example, let's say where Wilfred is studying, we know that if you go there through our program, you have a very high chance of getting, graduate assistantship award because you're going to be considered because you come through our program. So that's how we work. But again, also another factor that we have to consider is also the lenders, because part of what we do in our programs is that we hook you up with the lenders. Remember, I said we have, unsecured international student loans that we can offer you through our official lending partners. For example, Empire is our official lending partner. Prodigy is also our preferred partner, but they are not yet our official lending partner. So not every school is supported by these lenders. So, it has to be a school that is supported by them. So if it's a school that is supported by them and you need a loan, then at the end of the day, we can be able to help you out. Again, through our programs, we don't just take anybody just because you want to come to the US. You have to make sure that you have the funding, because we realize a lot of people out there, they go looking for bank statements from wherever they can get them, go to the embassy, present them, then come here and then struggle. We don't want that to happen. In case actually our program is not just a matter of you coming here and studying, also helping you get jobs once you graduate from school. That's why you have those training programs on the side. We support you once you graduate from school. We hook you up with employers who are looking for people with the skills that you have. All right. Someone here is asking, hi, hello. You said that working in corporate America requires unique and specific skills. Kind to share any? Well, I like talking about mostly IT because that's really what we focus on mostly. Okay, I might be biased into IT because also I don't want to talk about something that I'm not very sure of. Now, for example, in IT, there's a huge demand. Also, I know in healthcare, there's a huge demand of people who have those kind of skills. Mostly, like, for example, in the IT sector, if you're working in corporate America, most of the people that you'll find working there as consultants, mostly it's Asians, specifically Indians. Okay, and they are working there because most Americans don't have those kind of skills. Okay, IT consulting skills. We're not talking about, for example, a skill where maybe you have a computer broken and you're the one who's fixing a computer. No, that's a very basic skill. That one you probably won't have anybody to sponsor you. See, at the end of the day, when a company is sponsoring you, they need someone who can solve complex problems for companies. And that's even what the US government wants. They don't just want to dish out H-1Bs and employment-based green cards to anybody out there just because you want them. No, you have to be able to be someone who can solve complex problems for companies. And most of these complex problems, they cannot be solved by Americans. Okay, not many Americans can solve them, right? So they need us. They need those brilliant minds from everywhere across the world to come and help them out solve those problems. I say that, you know, most of the innovations here, they are done by international students who, I mean, by people who came as international students. Okay, if you can be able to show that, then you're going to be able to get sponsored, and you're going to be able to live and work here long term once you graduate from school. Okay. And there's someone else here. What courses you think are relevant across time, and what courses are more ephemeral? What 3 courses would you take if you had to start again now? And what 3 courses would you have avoided in retrospect? Now, honestly, first of all, to me, IT was never my cup of tea. Okay, I was more inclined into doing, being an accountant, you know, and things like those. So, and I had no idea what IT was all about. I mean, I knew IT about computers and stuff like that, but I had no idea about consulting life. Okay, so if I was to start this all over again and I was to find myself in your situation where you want to come and study here in the US, and I had the kind of undergraduate I did, which was a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting and Finance, I would take a Master of Science in Business Analytics, because one, I really don't love coding. Okay, so Master of Science in Business Analytics, probably it's not very techie coding heavy. I think the kind of coding language that you have to do is Python. I know Python, it's not very hard in terms of learning how to code. I think it's one of the easiest coding language. So I think I'll do Business Analytics Master's program. And I would basically, in terms of 3 courses, probably maybe Business Analytics. Maybe I would take maybe something like, I still have to take a STEM program, no matter what. Maybe I would do like operations management, still also a STEM program. Maybe I do even project management. I'll still try to find something that is not, doesn't involve any coding at all, because that's not my thing. Okay. So of course I would avoid very heavy coding stuff, like for example, computer science, software engineering, and all that, because I don't like that stuff. Okay, but that's not mean that those are not good courses. Those are very marketable courses. It all depends also with your level, right? You know yourself, right? Do you like these things? Can you do them also, right? Because STEM is not for anybody out there, right? Right. So yeah, so that's what it is. And another question: for prospective students in non-profit sector in finance roles and not in IT, does Upstack America support the admission process? Well, as long as you come through up, I mean, as long as you're interested in studying anything related to business or IT, you can come to us and decide to do an MBA in finance, or do MSc in finance, or do Master of Accountancy. Yeah, so we support those programs. Remember, our programs, they are more tailored towards helping you get a footing in the corporate world here in the US. Not just come to school. Okay. Come to school, finish your master's, get done with that, then get the skills that are needed in the job market, then get into the corporate America. So we can only do that if we bring students who are in the same line as what we do as a company here in the US, which is basically IT consulting. And for you to do IT consulting, you can do IT consulting even without finance, you know, accounting background, you know, just general business background, mathematics, all those, you know, anything related to that, you can always do IT programs, right? Because remember also I said, you can be in the IT industry working as a consultant. You don't have to code anything. You can work there as a business analyst. You can work there as a systems analyst. You can work in fintech, you know, all that. All right. So it's possible to get into IT without necessarily being a programmer, because when you talk about IT, most people think IT, it's all that about programming and all. I think the last question here is, I I think the last question here that I got is, do you help students apply to Colombia? Well, currently we are not working with Colombia as our official partners, but who knows, maybe very soon. But if you come through our programs and let's say, for example, we realize that Colombia, they maybe work with some of the lenders that you work with, yeah, we can help you get into Colombia. Okay. You've been watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, brought to you by Upstake America. Come back next time to hear more steps and missteps that I took on the path to becoming a successful immigrant in USA. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.